Thank you guys for joining us for today's episode. We just wanted to apologize for not posting last Friday due to the Thanksgiving holiday, but we hope you guys had a wonderful holiday and hope you enjoy our next episodes. Bye.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Moonlit Scary Stories. We are your hosts, Cameron and Skylar, and today we're going to be talking about the Windigo.
In this podcast, we need to warn you of the possibility of language that may not be appropriate for all ages and to some may be offensive. The content we go over in this episode is recommended for mature audiences and a trigger warning due to the content consisting of cannibalism and supernatural beings. I am excited for this.
I am too. I'm excited to talk about it because it's a lot of information, and every time I would research it, I would just end up going down another rabbit hole. Like, there's so much information on this.
Well,
I would imagine.
take me down to the rabbit hole with you because I haven't heard, I haven't researched it myself, so I'm excited for to what you come up with.
Well, I've heard of the Windigo. Like, it's been in shows like that. So, like, what I know about it is just what I've seen from there. But when I was researching it, it's like quite a bit more information, which is crazy and different from what they depict on TV, of course.
Okay, awesome.
So, there are different spellings and pronunciations of the Windigo. Some call it Windigo, some call it Windigo. I'm going to call it Windigo because that's the name I've heard the most.
Mhm.
Dictionary.com defines the word Wendigo as, quote, an evil spirit or cannibal. And the info I found on the Wendigo dated back to the 17th century, but I didn't find any specific date. This urban legend comes from the Algonquin tribe, Native Americans. I definitely looked this up, but I'm still thinking I'm butchering it. But
It's okay.
this was in North America and Canada because it says that it likes cold weather. It says Wendigos used to be human. So, how does one become a Wendigo, you might ask?
Yeah.
One, one origin story is about a hunter who, during a very cold winter, turned to cannibalism to survive, thus resulting in him turning into the Wendigo. Another story talks about a warrior who made a deal with the devil to protect his tribe, and in return, the warrior gave up his soul. The warrior was then given heightened skills and won the battle protecting his tribe. Once it was all over, he was then turned into a Wendigo. Get this, after turning into the Wendigo, he was then banished by his own people and the people that he saved. So during this banishment, he gained a hunger for human flesh and became a cannibal to survive. And then the last version I have is what I believe to be the more modern version of this story. It says you could be cursed if you were scratched by a Wendigo, which would then turn you into a Wendigo, and the only way to break the curse is by killing the original Wendigo. This is seen on an episode of the original Charmed, where Wendigos are featured as, I guess, the spirit that they're, or because they hunt demons and stuff in their show. So this is the episode with the Wendigo that one of the sisters gets scratched and turns into the Wendigo, so they have to save her, of course.
I know that episode. I've watched all the Charm episodes too because I'm a Charm
Yeah.
fanatic. So yeah, I know. Okay, now I know. Okay, I got you. I
Okay.
got you.
Yeah. So
I literally just played through that whole episode when you were talking about it. I was like, I know that episode.
yeah, I love that show too. I watched it a lot growing up. Um, so there are also the Wendigos are also featured in other shows and movies such as Supernatural. There's actually a Wendigo movie and even a video game entitled Until Dawn, which I've actually played all the way to the end.
I've
It's
never
actually,
played that.
yeah, they have like three games out, I think, and those are the only games that I can actually get through. Yeah.
That's cool. Is it on PlayStation and Xbox, or is it
I'm
just
not
on
sure about
PlayStation?
Xbox. I just know that I had the PlayStation version.
Okay, okay,
But it was
okay.
fun. It was fun. There's different outcomes depending on like what you pick. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay.
It's like a choice game.
Okay, yeah, like I don't know if you played it. I think it's Dark Rain or something about your spoiler alert if you haven't played the game. Sorry guys, but like you you choose, and whatever you're choosing is pretty much how the game's going to end.
Yeah, pretty much like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it all like or endings.
Okay.
So, what does a person feel like when they turn into a Wendigo? Well, an intense craving for human flesh or raw meat. They get a fever, sweat, but still feeling like they're cold and they can't get warm, and eating but not getting full. The Wendigo is described as a tall, lanky, almost human like creature, but around 14 to 15 foot tall, with an almost emaciated look of just skin and bones, either
Mm.
being a very pale or gray in color. Some pictures I saw depicted to have antlers, while some don't. Some say it has fine hair, while others don't mention hair at all. Eyes are either sunken in or big and glowing. Extremely sharp teeth and claws, and some say the Wendigo gets bigger with the consumption of human flesh, while others say that it remains the same height and still skin and bones.
Mm-mm,
The
fuck
height,
that.
no, the heightened abilities include but are not limited to superhuman strength and speed, heightened senses such as hearing and smell. It can imitate a human's voice to lure its prey in, which reminds me of skinwalkers. And it is said that the Wendigo may be immortal due to the ability to hibernate and the fact that it eats human flesh and thrives in cold temperatures. Now, after all of the descriptions, my next thought would be okay, how do you kill a Wendigo? The legend says by fire, silver bullets, pure silver blade to pierce the heart, like almost like a werewolf kind of thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was about to say, well, let me go get my silver bullets out.
Yeah. And then there is a Nazasi. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it.
What is
Symbol.
that though?
It's a symbol. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know exactly. I can't describe it.
So
Who it,
probably like a ward or something that you make, I guess. Because sorry guys, but I've been watching Supernatural lately, and I'm at the last season, so it's kind of sad. But there's like so many episodes, and they probably have fought a Wendigo too. I just probably haven't paid attention
yeah, they did.
as
It
I.
was in the first season.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was thinking they did, and I think that they did use, if I'm not mistaken, a symbol or something. Sam does. Oh,
I
Sam and
can't
Dean.
remember. I can't
Sorry.
remember. I do know they fought one though.
Okay.
So this is a symbol and it's a protection specifically against Wendigos where they cannot cross over it. And of course,
Okay.
from Charmed, if you kill the original Wendigo, it breaks the curse on others who then turn back into humans. But I think that's as long as they haven't resorted to cannibalism themselves. With all that being said, I do have two Wendigo encounters to share with you guys. So, two separate stories. The
Mm.
first story I found on YouTube, a video with the title, quote, 50 True Wendigo Stories, posted by Darkness Prevails. So check that out if you're interested in Wendigos or just in these stories in general. It's just a whole video about different Wendigo stories.
Mm.
So the story was reported to be by J. Min, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. I listened to it several times trying to catch the name accurately.
Oh, you're
So
good.
this took place in Westover, Vermont in 2016. This guy went on a hike and camping trip with two friends. They were hiking a 6 mile trail near one of their family's cabin where their parents were actually staying because they were 16 years old at this time. So
Mm.
on their way back, they reached the 4 mile mark when it started to get dark. So they decided to stop and camp for the night. They set up the tent, started a fire, and ate and just listened to some music and kind of hung out for a long time. When
Mm.
the fire began to dim, they started to collect more firewood separately. He said it was eerily quiet and he felt as if he was being watched. So they went off on their own to collect firewood. While they're in the middle of this woods, it's just really creepy and quiet. And you know how sometimes you can tell when someone's staring at you?
Oh yeah, you get that feeling that oh I hate that feeling. That's the one thing I hated with going camping and going on all of mine and your excursions when we were younger. Just the feeling of somebody like I think you went in that house with us over the summer that one of our friends took us to in high school.
Hmm.
Um yeah, even that like it freaked no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. So that's what he was feeling when he was collecting firewood. So when he returned back to the campsite, one of the other boys was looking in the opposite direction of where he had arrived. So he kind of came in from one direction, and the other guy was looking off in the opposite direction of where he came.
Mm.
He asked, the guy turned around and asked how he got on that side of him so fast that he was just talking to him in the opposite direction. And then he asked him what he needed help with because he kept hearing this guy calling out for help, like multiple times, was calling out for him to help him. And the third guy with them was at the campsite and within sight um of the other guy the entire time and could not have been him like pranking him. So it wasn't a joke. Despite all of that, they decided to ignore this, which I found
Mm.
weird because I would have been totally creeped out. Like
For real.
who out there needing help and why they need help?
What? Yeah. Yeah, no.
And especially now that I know that Wendigos can mimic a human voice, or even before then, I would have thought a skinwalker because they say skinwalkers can mimic the voice of a human as well to
Yeah,
lure them in.
yeah.
It's all about luring their prey in. But I would have totally
Mm.
been creeped out. But they weren't. So the woods became silent again after a while, and they heard a voice crying out, "Help me," repeatedly. They decided to turn on the video camera they brought with them to see if they could catch whatever was whatever was hollering out, "Help me," in the frame. So they were scanning the woods to see if they could catch it on camera. Then they heard this creature shriek twice.
Mm.
And as they heard this, the boys jumped into the tent. It shrieked a third time, which sent the boys running out of the tent and down the trail. Hearing the rustling of the bushes beside them in the trees, beside them and right behind them, until they stopped and the creature actually ran past them. And then it began
Mm.
to circle them. They could hear it going around them in the trail and in the woods. As soon as they felt safe enough, they bolted down the trail again, trying to reach the cabin before this creature could catch them, basically. They reached, no, excuse me, they ran into the cabin finally after they reached it, locked all the doors and windows, and before Jay's parents could ask what was wrong, they heard multiple thuds on the roof of the cabin. So they heard it
Mm.
walking around, and then they heard footsteps on top of the roof as well, until the creature jumped down onto the deck. So it came into view and they could see it from inside the cabin, in which they described it as a huge, emaciated, very pale, human like, because at first they thought it was a human until they looked at it closer, with silver
Mm.
hair and standing on all fours. So they got a pretty good glimpse of this thing. It sat there and was like, I guess maybe deliberating whether or not it could get them. but there was more of
Mm.
them, so it wasn't just the three boys anymore. It was one of their parents as well, their set of parents. Excuse me.
Oh my
They,
goodness.
yeah. So they're staring at this creature when the creature shrieked one final time before it disappeared for good, but not before leaving the boys completely terrified. They did not go back for their stuff and did not return to those woods until a year later, but did not come across the creature again. After the incident, they researched what they saw and were convinced that what they saw was, in fact, a Wendigo.
Wow.
So that's the end of the first story. The second story I have takes place in Minnesota. This story was listed on Reddit by Anonymous. This was back in 2012, where a young woman named Claire decided to take some friends up to her parents' cabin for a weekend. And this was like a weekend getaway. Claire arrived a day early to get things turned on and to make sure everything was working in the cabin, since it had been like 6 months since her parents had stayed there and a year since she herself had stayed there. One of her friends, Jackie, decided that she'd head up there to the cabin that day as well so that she didn't have to be alone that night. Excuse me. So she told Claire she'd be there a little bit after dark, but after Claire turned things on in the cabin and checked things out, she decided to go for a quick walk on one of the trails behind the cabin. So this is where I do a thing where I say never go on a trail alone.
For
It's
real.
it's not safe. This is how a lot of disappearance stories start. Nonetheless, she ventured into the woods on her own, and I guess it's because she
Oh,
had had known the woods before or whatever, and she'd been there. But I still wouldn't go by myself.
I was about to say I don't give a excuse my language, but I don't give a shit if somebody if I'm going in like I don't want to even go in my woods at dark. I won't even go in my woods alone. I take my dog with me just because one, I don't know the property, and two, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna find, and I ain't going searching for anything either.
Well, she had gotten everything set up in the cabin, so it was during the day. But I mean, I remember playing in the woods as a child, but it wasn't deep woods. It wasn't. But anyways, Claire is walking in the woods behind her cabin when she ventures out too far and gets turned around, so she's no longer on the trail that she started on. Luckily, she did bring a flashlight because she knew it would probably get dark while or start to get dark while she was out there. And she had a water bottle on her as well. But that was all she had. As she's trying to find the trail that leads back to the cabin, she begins to feel eyes on her, like someone or something was watching her, much like in every story I've seen about these creatures. So she started shining her flashlight into the surrounding trees and bushes when she noticed a pair of glowing eyes. Frozen for a moment as she soaks in what she's looking at, she describes it as a tall, human like creature that was so thin she could see its rib cages almost protruding through its skin. Razor
Mm.
sharp, razor sharp claws and long, sharp teeth. The creature then makes a shrieking noise and she turns and runs in the opposite direction, unsure if she's even going in the right direction back to the cabin. As she's running, she can hear the creature behind her getting closer and closer. Then she realizes she's somehow ended up back on the trail she walked in on. And I think this was like instinct, like it kicked in for survival or something. I don't know, I just think it was almost like instinct that kicked in when she found her way back to the trail because she
Mm.
was running, not knowing if she was going in the right direction. So I think that her instincts took over
That makes me
somehow.
think of the Blair Witch Project where they get lost in those fucking woods. Mm-mm, nope.
Yeah, but didn't
No.
they like in that movie? Didn't they go for like? miles trying to find their way out, and then they would just end up right back at the campsite or something.
Yeah, yeah, it would like pretty much be like they're walking in circles. Both of the movies. I don't know if you watched the second movie or not, but both of them they get lost.
Yeah, I remember them. Or both of them, actually. It's been a while, but yeah, they just kept getting lost and back into the same area where they were trying to leave.
Damn.
Okay, so she ended up back on the right trail. And like I said, I think it was instinct that took over at this point. Jackie then helped Claire get her shirt off to look at what was causing her so much pain. As she lifted the shirt off, there's three large scratch marks on Claire's right shoulder. She so this creature had scratched just right across the top of her shoulder and left marks from it. And that's how it ended up catching her at first. So then she cleaned it and bandaged the wound. Being too scared of what just happened, the women did not go back outside that night, and neither of them slept. But once the sun was up, they ran to their cars and left, canceling the plans they had for the weekend. And like the other story, like I said, when they researched it, they realized that what they had seen and what Claire was running from was, in fact, a Wendigo based on their research. And it didn't say if Claire had ever went back to the cabin. I'm guessing maybe she did because
Yeah, I
it
was
was her
about to ask
family's
that.
cabin. It didn't say.
Okay.
Yeah, so it never said if she went back. It just said that they left in a hurry the next day and canceled their plans for the weekend.
Wow.
But so that is all I have for you on this episode, because the next one I'll start off with some more stuff about the Wendigo and some more stories as well. But I want to end that with those two stories, those encounters of the Wendigo.
Oh, I'm excited to hear the rest because, man, I'm just saying, if I saw something like that, I would, you would have to put me in a asylum because I would be screaming bloody murder if I survived. That is.
Yeah, I'd be pretty creeped out too. But a lot of these stories that I found online were very similar in what they said. Like it was like they
Dang.
described the creature pretty much the encounter pretty much.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I'm excited to hear the rest of it though.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to tell it because it's really like it just keeps getting interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Is it gives me cold chills every time you were saying something about it? I just got cold chills. Um. Well, I guess social media time. Whoa.
So we are on Twitter at Moonlit Scary, Instagram at Moonlit Scary Stories. You can email us scarystories@gmail.com. If you have anything to add or update on this podcast episode of the Wendigo, you can definitely message us on either of those social media sites or email us. We will definitely we would definitely love to hear from you, especially if you have your own encounter and want to share it. But that's
Awesome.
all I have.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk to you later, guys.
Thanks for listening.